Is waiting for SHIRO to go live.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
It says orientation is locked. Rotate device back. It's not locked on your phone.
Oh, hi everybody. Yeah, we got to turn it. It doesn't like it doing that way. So yeah, as y'all have noticed, the SHIRO show is a little late this week, but hello everyone. Thanks for being patient and watching anyway. Here I am in front of my green screen and not on the couch, unfortunately. So yeah, Dave was not able to be here this week, and we knew that he would be kind of indisposed all this summer. But we've been streaming through Pat, and Pat had some emergencies pop up at work at the last second, so he is not able to do the show either. Now, I have been trying to figure out a way to stream in some way and have the Sega guys on with me because they were in voice chat with me on Discord. Apparently, streaming on YouTube through streaming Discord through YouTube is not really a thing you can do on a cell phone because I use a cell phone to stream. So I tried to send them a link to add them into the stream with me, and I don't know if it worked. If they are listening,
Dan is here.
Dan is here. Dan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Ah, there he is. Oh, there he is. I see him on camera. Awesome. Hi, Dan. Dan, the Mega Driver, is here with me. We have at least two
We are live.
SHIROs. Yes, we are absolutely live and in front of our beautiful green screens. So, yes, thank you, Pudgy Bunny, our producer behind the camera, who's helped to make this all somewhat possible. Anyway, yeah, so hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We also had James, but I don't know if he's going to be able to join us either. He was in voice chat. It would be great if he can. If he cannot, well, it'll just be you and me, Dan, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so, yeah. Just trying to make sure I've got enough battery to make us through the podcast.
Okay, this will probably be a shorter one.
Mode. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be able to make it. How are you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad it's the end of the week, but it's a nice warm weekend over here in the UK. Some people complain it's too warm, but I'm going to be getting a barbecue out and obviously playing a bit of Sega over the weekend. How about yourself?
Nice. Of course. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. It's been a little bit of a frazzled evening here with all this chaos, but yeah, we're gonna have a hot weekend this weekend here in Ohio too. It's gonna get up over 90 degrees, which I think is almost 35 Celsius, something like that. It's very hot. Yeah. It's at least over 30. Super hot. So yeah, it sounds like it's raining outside now. So it would just be the cherry on this cake is if the power goes out and you lose me after I finally kind of got this going. That would be great. So let's cross our fingers, hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, thank you to everyone who hopped over to the different live stream. I'm sorry I couldn't tap into the one that was scheduled using my phone. I don't know how. It might not even be possible. But hello to Analog Black Sheep, Wiener Bob, Captain Hawdin, Cerulean, Pudgy Bunny, who is, of course, once again, behind the camera. Raiden, thank you for joining us. Hugh Jazz. We were talking about banana hammocks. I guess if you wanted before things got going, I'm sure banana hammocks was a topic. And Z64, thank you for sticking around watching. Paul Bort, hello. Lee Toast with the Most, hi. Shadow Mask is here too. Awesome. Great. 23 watching amazingly against all odds. So hi everybody. Yeah, so this is kind of a more of a low-tech SHIRO show, but we can still have some fun and talk some Sega Saturn. I don't have any pickups this week. I don't know about you, Dan. What do you got?
No, I am anxiously waiting for the delivery of two things. So and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be here next week, so I might as well say what they are now. But
okay,
yeah, I've ordered a Mega Drive Mini, the original, just the console, which I got for a pretty cheap price. Just waiting for that to arrive. It feels like one of those things that's superfluous, but I just there's something about the mini consoles. It would just be nice to have both Mega Drive Minis. I've got the two. Plus stuff like the save states and having versions of Contra Hardcore or Super Pro Protector, we call it here in
Yeah.
the UK, and Castlevania and stuff like that would be cool. And speaking of superfluous purchases that I probably didn't need, I ordered a GameCube. I've got a Wii, which does everything that the GameCube does, but I don't know. There's just something about that little square console that I absolutely love. And I ordered a black one like I had back in the day before I sold it. So
Hmm.
they'll hopefully be arriving in the next few days. So no
Nice.
pickups with me now, but that's recent purchases at least.
Well, that'll be fun. Yeah, I have one of those. I got that at launch, and yeah, it is cool to have one. I have both of the Mega Drive Minis or Genesis Minis over here. So yeah, Sega got my money for those. Although I didn't get the Astro City Mini. Um, it was just one too many mini consoles for me, I guess.
But hopefully limited run is still got selling theirs. I mean, me and
They
James
are.
Biles did a video on our channel,
Mm,
and they were, for the price, I think they're a good pickup. I think
yeah.
they're like $50 or something now. It turned out, even with shipping and stuff, it was like 60 pounds. It ended up, which is a great deal for those Astro City movies. So I'd
Yeah.
recommend them, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they sold through their whole stock, so I think they might still have some in stock. There's also
Yeah,
the
I'm
Astro City
recommending.
Mini V2, Cerulean says. Yeah, I guess they did put out a couple different Astro City Minis, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I'd recommend anyone in watching live now right now. Definitely recommend picking up an Astro City Mini if you can get them. Get them for the price the limited run was selling them for, because
Hmm.
they're not perfect, but they've got a great selection of games in it. I mean, some of them like Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder, that's worth picking up for alone. So definitely
Yeah.
recommend it.
Nice. Well, I guess we can talk about our community updates, our Shiro community updates. Just pretend that you're listening to the awesome music that Random wrote for us. I definitely cannot play any of that right now. It's me in front of my laptop and my cell phone. But I can tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. And the first thing I wanted to mention was that we want to clarify that the Wuxi story that Saturn Dave wrote last week. I guess Derek A Team actually got one of those Wuxies. He imported it from the seller who is making them. And once again, if anyone isn't familiar, the Wuxi is like a switcher that lets you switch between an ODE and um, and your actual CD-ROM drive. So if you have like a Fenrir installed or a Phoebe or a Rhea, you don't have to replace your CD-ROM drive if you use one of these switchers. It's kind of like the Sega Saturn switcher from a couple years ago, which aren't made anymore. This is a new design being made by, I believe, TZMWX, and somebody decided to start actually making his design and selling it. But apparently, the person selling it did not test their 3D prints on their own console, and they shipped out 3D printed Wuxies that do not fit certain revisions of the hardware, as Derek A Team found. So he had to do a little of his own mechanical engineering to make it fit in his Saturn, which does kind of suck. Now, the seller did acknowledge that it was a problem, and I believe he is shipping out replacements to people, and he's probably at this point shipping out um, fixed versions of the 3D print. But if anybody did order any from that initial batch, and you're wondering what's going on, what am I doing wrong? Why is it not fitting? There you go. You didn't do anything wrong. the seller did. So yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that on the show. It's a little snug, Zed64 said. Oh, okay, Zed got the Wuxi. Needs a slight adjustment to the holes. So yeah, sorry to everybody who may have jumped on that early and had some issues with it, and we didn't technically have anything to do with it. We just reported on it and didn't know that it was going to have any problems, but we wanted to let you know and report that there were problems, and they should be getting fixed, hopefully. You didn't order any of those Wuxies, did you, Dan?
No, I was tempted. I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait for the Fenrir revision, the update that's gonna come out.
Oh
I think
yeah, it
that's
might
gonna
have
be a nice.
different dimensions or something.
Yeah, so I've got one last Saturn that's still got a working CD drive. So I was
Hmm.
thinking if I could preserve that, but that's prime candidate for a Wuxi and a new Fenrir, so I can have the best
Yeah,
of both. So
definitely.
I think that's probably what I'll look for.
Zed said the amount was $5, no biggie. Yeah, that's true. It's not a super expensive thing. So the second thing we want to mention as far as community updates is the Sega guys, 2 videos that they put out this week. The earlier one was Sega and Platinum Games' finest hour, a look back on Bayonetta, and the second one was, which we'll be talking about a little later in the show, because it was put up on the SHIRO website, Mario Kart 64 on Sega Dreamcast, the latest homebrew port by J.N. Martin 84. Do you want to talk about those videos a little bit, Dan?
Sorry, Dan, I lost audio for a second. And just to repeat the last 10 seconds.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah. Oh, real quick. Thank you to Wiener Bob for the $4.99, who says Space Hulk Challenge is still going. That we were going to mention this in the community challenge, so you're jumping the gun. But okay, yeah, Space Hulk Challenge is still going. 2 new challenges with their own prizes are now available. Also, budget or better buttery LRG. LRG is certainly not budget considering how expensive they can be. But I don't know if I want to call them buttery either. I guess they're buttery for selling the Astro City Mini, huh?
I'm not the biggest fan of LRG, so it's one of those. You see those Jose Mourinho memes. They don't speak if I speak. So I'm not going to say anything about LRG. I'm not just for that. I'm not the biggest fan, but
Fair
I'm glad that
enough.
I got the Nitro. Glad that I got the mini off them. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've gotten cool stuff from them, although I was a little unhappy with my last purchase of the Shantae Advance that had recycled chips inside of it.
oh,
That wasn't a great look. Anyway, so what I had said that you missed what I said, Dave, was I was letting everybody know about the 2 videos that were put up onto the Sega Guys YouTube channel this week, the Bayonetta one and
yes.
the Mario Kart 64 one, which we'll talk about that Mario Kart 64 one a little later in the show. But
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, a couple of videos this week. Bayonetta was kind of our big Monday video.
yeah,
For some reason, it didn't seem to resonate with the audience that well. So it's one of our lowest performing videos. So
no,
I'm not sure. Maybe people are too tired of Bayonetta. Maybe we're not sure. But it was one that
sure,
I
yeah.
I enjoyed making. It was a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of the game. The original game, especially, I absolutely adore it.
Yeah. It
Played
was
it
a
so
good
many
video.
times.
I watched it. I don't know
Thank
about
you.
everybody else, but I watched it. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Everybody watching this should absolutely watch his video on Bayonetta. It is, even though the last couple games were published by Nintendo, it's still a Sega IP. It's still a Sega character. So I think it's worth talking about and celebrating Bayonetta. And like you said, the first game is great. I really like the second game. And the third one, people weren't as thrilled with, but I'm glad it got made anyway. It still had cool stuff to it. So,
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about the third one, so it's one that I
mm,
haven't picked up yet. I've heard that the frame
okay.
rate drops a fair bit, and a lot of people are really unhappy with the ending. So
Mm,
I've tried to avoid spoilers and stuff, but I'll pick it up eventually. Maybe if it ever comes to other platforms, I don't know if that's because Sega do own the IP. So Bayonetta is a Sega character, is a Sega franchise, but Nintendo obviously funded the development of Bayonetta 2 and 3. Um, who knows? GoldenEye eventually, after for 20, 30 years, came onto Xbox. So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, people should definitely play the first game and the second one as well. But the first game can be played on pretty much everything. PlayStation, Xbox,
yeah.
Nintendo Switch, PC. It's everywhere. So if anyone hasn't played it, it definitely should.
Oh, so James said in chat, "Hey guys, the stream has exceeded the maximum number of users while joined in chat instead." I I don't think that's it. He's talking about a limit on the number of viewers. I think he means the number of people who can actually be on camera and talking. I think the way this option that I chose to do this live stream on YouTube only lets 2 people at a time do it. I don't think it lets more than 2 people. Which I did not really realize initially. But so I'm sorry, James, that we couldn't have you on here. I wanted to. We wanted to have as many of us on here as possible. But
No,
so I
it's
think that's what's going on. But yeah, absolutely. Just talk and chat a little bit, James. So yeah, everybody watch the Bayonetta video on the Sega Guys YouTube. That was good. And then like I said, we'll talk about the Mario Kart one in just a minute. So the last thing we want to mention for the community section, which Rinkrat already did, was that he is hosting an unofficial community challenge on the SHIRO Discord server this month for the amazing Saturn game Space Hulk: Vengeance of the Blood Angels, which of course is in the Warhammer universe. And he is offering cash prizes: $20 to first place and $10 to second place. So join in there and give it a shot. Call Dan on cell and go on speakerphone. No, don't call me on cell phone. I'm using my cell phone to stream, Zed. That would mess all this up. I'm praying to God nobody calls me right now. Anyway, yeah. Don't you do it, buddy. She's threatening back there. Okay, so I think that's what we've got for community updates. Let's get on with the news on the SHIRO website. And the first thing we have is the article that Dave put up. And we talked about this last week on the show, but Dave wrote a little thing, Saturn Dave, on the website about the new ODE comparison chart that we have on our website. If you go to SegaSaturnShiro.com and go under resources and click on ODE comparison, you'll see the chart. Sorry, I can't put it up on screen. You'll have to follow along with me on your computers or phones or whatever. But yeah, Dave just wanted to do a little write out as an article on the site to sort of call out the fact that this chart is on the website now. And I believe he may have reproduced the chart in his story too. It looks like he did, but it's really great. This was put together actually by Derek A Team with help by Private Eye, and it just sort of like goes through all of the pros and cons, and even just the stats, the facts about all of the major ODEs for the Saturn. Of course, there are several. There's the Rhea and the Phoebe, which are kind of two sides of the same coin. Just one of them is for 20-pin Saturns. Another one is for 21-pin Saturns. Ray is for the 20, and Phoebe is for the 21. Those are the very first ODEs made for the Saturn. And then it also talks about the Fenrir, which works kind of like the Ray and the Phoebe, in that it replaces the CD drive. There's the Mode, which also replaces the CD drive, but it works on both 20 and 21-pin Saturns. The Fenrir does too now. It initially had different versions. The Satiator, which plugs into the back of the Saturn through the MPEG card port, and then the Saru, of course, which uses the cartridge slot. That's our newest ODE option. And there's all kinds of other stats about these things, whether they can use just SD cards or also USBs, which, like, the Mode can use a micro USB, or whether they are actively supported or not, how fast they load games up. Of course, the Saru has made a point of having kind of like per game patches to speed up the loading and make games load up almost instantaneously, right, Dan?
Yeah. So some of the load times, and we've had a couple of videos on the Sega Guys channel about the load times that you get with Saru. There was one that I am trying to pull together around Capcom loading times. It's taken a while because I've got them on disc, so it's going to be another like the SNK one I did, which would be kind of disc versus Fenrir versus Saru. Early days at the moment, but James did a great one on Model 2. James has done a few Saru ones, and I did the SNK one. For SNK, I think I said on there that I think it's essential for SNK fans. Some of the games load lightning fast.
Yeah,
I
that
do
video was
think that
pretty wild to see.
yeah, it's like if they didn't have the loading icons, like Fatal Fury 3, if it didn't have the loading icons, you wouldn't notice it at all.
Yeah.
It's a bit spotty, Saru, with games that are only 1 megabyte RAM card only that get visual artifacts if you have the 4 megabyte RAM card installed. I don't know, because you do see these cards that advertise 1 and 4 megabyte. I think most of the time it uses 4 megabyte, but sometimes the games do work as if it's a 1 megabyte. So I'm not sure. It feels random, so you may get some visual artifacts, but for the most part, it's great. But it's not a perfect device. There are issues. Virtual On is borderline unplayable with it. There's other games that have a number of issues. The retail compatibility list is great. The homebrew side is a bit spotty because the developers have to do specific stuff to make it work on the Saru in some cases. So
Yeah.
it's the article itself, Dan, is fantastic. You know, it really breaks things down, and it's great that the Saturn has so many ODE options for people, and
Mm-hmm.
people can really use that article and say, you know, this is the one for me. Whether you want to go all in with the Satiator, whether you want to, you know, just dip your toe in the water with the Saru, if you want to go something in between, or maybe you want the mode, maybe you want to put hard drive in with the mode or something like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much out there, so it's
Or
great to have all that information in one place.
yeah, or get the Fenrir where it's got some beta Wi-Fi capability right now to stream games from from your computer, which is a pretty cool
Indeed.
feature unique to the Fenrir too. So yeah, and if anybody says online like, well, what options are there for the Saturn? As far as ODEs go, you can just point them to this article. That's kind of the point of a lot of these resources that we have on the Sega Saturn Shiro website. Is it's stuff that people can point to and point others to and say, here's the information you want on this topic. This topic that people are frequently going to talk about or ask about with the Saturn. In this case, ODEs. What do they all do? What are their pros and cons? You can just point them to this article and say, here you go, and that's it. You don't have to think about it yourself, and it's going to be accurate information. Nobody's going to be more accurate, than Sega Saturn fans like us. So it's really cool that that's on there. So thank you to Dave for writing this up, and to Derek and Private Eye for putting this chart together. And I'm sure they'll keep it maintained and keep adding onto it as new developments happen with the ODs. So our next article on the website is a Bo Bales Under the Microscope piece, but this one's a little special. He called it Under the Microscope Presents the Shining the Holy Ark Rhythm Challenge. Have you seen this, Dan? Did you check this out yet on the website?
I mean, as soon as I saw it pop up, I was in there. Now, I haven't had a chance to try this out myself yet because I watched the
Mm-hmm.
video, and rhythm games are not my strong suit.
Mm-hmm.
And this looks tough, but Shining on the Holy Ark is one of my favorite RPGs of all time. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely adore that game, and to find something like the rhythm game that's in there is so cool. I mean, it does look tough. It reminded me a bit of. It's not kind of your Guitar Hero. You don't match like shapes or arrows or anything like that. You have to match the animal sounds. And
Yeah,
the first few beats was kind of, I was watching it, I was like, oh, I could probably do this. And then it starts ramping up. I was like, okay, no, I've got no chance in hell of managing
gets
to do
faster.
this.
Yeah. So if anybody hasn't checked out the article yet on the site, Bo found what he calls the strangest hidden feature he's ever seen, which is saying something. He found an unused code for a sound matching mini game in Shining the Holy Ark that works like this: a series of, like Dan said, of animal sounds plays on the name entry screen. Now this isn't normally accessible. He did have to edit the code a little bit to activate it. It was just like dummied out code. It was kind of hidden in the game. So, but when you do activate it, then the animal sounds play in the name entry screen. You press X, Y, or Z depending on which sound plays, and if you miss fewer than 3 matches, uh, then a debug menu is enabled. Um, he says, easy enough, right? 2 issues. Number 1, nothing tells you which sound goes with which button, and number 2, the pace is insane. So he did put like a video on in his article on the site, kind of showing the you can kind of hear it really, and then you see winning the game, and it will show the debug menu. Which is pretty cool. Now he did issue a challenge. Who can do this first, and whoever manages to do this and prove that they were able to pull this off, then they can choose which game Bo looks at next. And it took, I don't know, a couple hours for Private Eye to actually pull this off and show a video of himself doing it, which is just wild. He did great. Like, I think he must have just, I mean, first he figured out which sound went to which button, and then I think he kind of memorized the little songs. It's like just a little ditty that plays, and then he just kind of tapped it in the right rhythm, and he got it. So I believe the game he chose for Bo to look at next was Omakase Savers, which is a cutesy pixel art graphics RPG with some awesome cutscenes of real life actors, actresses that they cast to play the 3 heroines in the game. So that's a pretty cool choice. So congrats to Private Eye for pulling it off.
Yeah. Amazing work. I mean, it's not a game that I'm actually familiar with.
Mhm.
So I'll be interested to see what Bo picks up from that. But yeah, it's that's some achievement to beat that, because I think the sounds are set in a sequence, so it's just learning it. But as I say, I suck at that sort of stuff. But I'm trying to play through the Shining games at the moment. I beat Shining Force, the original. I'm on to Shining Force CD, which is the next chronologically, and I want to replay them all and maybe do a few Sega Guys videos on them if I can. If I can. So Shrine and Holy Ark, I'm well overdue for a replay of that. It's a fantastic game. And once again, anyone that hasn't played it, if you love RPGs, definitely pick it up and play it. Load it up in your ODE or whatever you need to do. It's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be great to see some videos on those games from you. That would be a fun series of deep dives, I think.
Yeah. It's plenty that we hope to do. So hopefully we'll get around to that.
Yeah. So thank you to Bo for finding that and writing about it and letting everybody know about it. If anybody wants to check out his blog, it's a Substack, 32bit, I believe, .substack. It's called Rings of Saturn. Or you can head to SegaSaturnShare.com, go into resources, and click on hacks and cheats, because that's what Bo writes about, is all the hacks and cheats that he finds in all these Saturn games, many of which no one knew about before, which is what makes it extra fun and worthy of being called, Saturn News every week on this show, because he's always breaking news with the new stuff he finds in these games. So next on the site, we have a Best of Saturn article from our fellow SHIRO, Peter Malik, and it is on DecAthlete. And this is not just a Best of Saturn, but a Best of Saturn Silver. He has decided that this is truly one of the Saturn's best games. So he wrote a little more than usual on this game. I'll read it off to you. So Peter says, developed by AM3 for the STV Titan arcade board and then ported to the Saturn for a summer 1996 release, DecAthlete, or also called Athlete Kings in Europe, is an Olympic-style sports game for 1 to 2 players. Sporting 8 competitors from major sporting countries, players tackle 10 events in succession. Alternately, I guess he actually wrote, single event or practice modes are also available. The game released in time for the Summer Olympic Games held that year in Atlanta, Georgia. Being an STV port, the Saturn version is exceptionally faithful to the coin op and sports super smooth, high resolution 3D models animating at a crisp 60 frames per second. The visuals are simple yet colorful, and our characters are very nicely animated. The game's draw is the well-executed control scheme, primarily utilizing the D-pad and 2 action buttons. Each event is an exercise in rhythm and timing. Some events, such as the races, require careful management of stamina. Button mashing aficionados won't make the podium here, differentiating the game from various previous Olympic video game efforts. Upon release, the game garnered positive reviews and compared favorably to other Olympic-themed games released at the same time. The game was lauded for being especially appealing to players who don't usually play sports games. This can be attributed in part to the excellent visuals and in part to the snappy control scheme. Today, the game continues to hold up very well and is worthy of a silver ranking in our weekly Best of Saturn series. Would you agree with that, Dan?
I can't praise this game high enough. It
Okay.
is definitely one of the greatest games on the Sega Saturn. I mean, I'm reading Peter's article. I feel like you guys got the raw end of the stick, because we got Athlete Kings, and I think that's a superior name. But superior names aside, we got the extra character, which was removed from the US version, because I think the character, I think he was called Robin Banks in the Japanese version. Was removed from the US version, but then renamed as Jeff Jansen's in the PAL version. So there's 8 characters in the PAL version and Japanese version compared to 7 in the US one. But it's one of these games. I'm thinking about it. I can just think of Homelander and the boys just saying it's perfect right down to the last detail. I think the only critique I would level is that it's 2-player only. Winter Heat obviously introduced 4-player corporate 4-player gameplay, whereas this is just 2 players. You've got International Track and Field on the PS1, which is, I think, is an inferior game to this, but that does allow you to play 4 players at the same time. If it had that 4-player simultaneous play, it would be perfect, and it almost is. Spent so much time on this. Sega Lord X actually had a really good story about this, about how his friend Nathan kept beating his scores on his console. I think that was on our Sega Saturn Best Sega Saturn Exclusives podcast we did a little while back. But yeah, I don't think there's anyone around that has a bad thing to say about this game. It's superb.
You know, I've only played this game in its online form. Actually, I played it
Oh,
the
really?
Sega Netley, the X-Band version of it through the neckband tunnel. So, like when I was playing, I don't remember who, but I was playing against somebody, and the first time they were like, "Hey, you want to play?" DecAthlete. I'm like, sure, I've never played it before. Tell me what to do. He's like, oh, it's fine. Just like mash the button it tells you to do. And that is easy enough to say, but there is nuance to what you have to do. Like pole vaulting, I could not do that. I kept just either not making it and then going backward, or I, smack into the pole. But I mean, it is fun. I guess I had maybe more fun with the other events. I was able to pull off better, like the track, the racing, that sort of thing. But yeah, the game does look spectacular. I mean, they keep the visuals, I guess, simple. Like they're not trying to do too much, but that enables them to keep it 60 frames per second and use high res mode. And it looks really great for a Saturn game, and it is a lot of fun to play. I don't know why I
Yeah, I
just
think it
never
looks.
played it single player, but I've just played it Netlink a few times.
I definitely recommend practicing in single player, because I
I
think
should.
a Netlink with some Netlink games, things do feel slower or maybe less responsive if you're playing online. So
Hmm.
definitely play it. Definitely play it offline. Go through the decathlon 2 or 3 times until you kind of get the knack for the events, and then it'll be like, oh, can I get my score a little bit higher? And it
Hmm.
just kind of devolves into a good old fashioned score attack, time attack thing. And I can't, as I say, I can't praise it highly enough. I think the visuals are actually absolutely beautiful on it. It uses high res mode. When I was playing it, as a kid, on my through RGB SCART, when I was able to commandeer the living room when like my parents are out or something, I was just blown away by the visuals, and especially kind of the backdrops and the skyboxes and stuff, and the huge
Hmm.
stadium and these giant high res characters. And yeah, maybe they're not the most detailed, but they got enough detail and they're nice and smooth, as opposed to PS1's International Track and Field, where they're kind of Virtua Fighter 1 looking and all boxy. So I definitely think that DecAthlete Athlete Kings is a real good looking game.
Yeah. Well, thanks to Peter for writing that up, and giving us a chance to talk about it a little bit. And I'm sorry again, I can't show any visuals, any of the screenshots he took about it. But if you have not played Decathlete, by all means, give it a shot, and you'll see what we're talking about. So the next piece, I think you'll be able to maybe talk about a little more, even though you didn't actually write it, Dan, but your partner in crime, James, did, about Mario Kart 64 on the Sega Dreamcast. You got a first look.
Yeah, so it's James did a fantastic video on this, and we really were lucky that Jay and Martin gave James a version of this. He's
Mhm.
very selective about who he sends the demos to. I haven't played it. James has. Because I think Jay and Martin wants to make sure that it doesn't make its way out to the public, which is definitely his prerogative until he's ready for a version that's public. So James and the channel, and by extension, we were so lucky for James to get his hands on this. It looks absolutely spectacular. It's a shame James can't come on to tell us a little bit more about it, but he did an absolutely fantastic job with the video.
Mhm.
And managed to speak to Jay and Martin and get a few tidbits about the process that that he took in decompiling and then rebuilding it on the Dreamcast. So yeah, people should definitely check the video out because
Yeah.
it's a very interesting project. It's going to be great to see how it evolves.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be cool. It's kind of a. I mean, obviously, it never would have come to the Dreamcast, so it's more of a flex that hey, we get to play this Nintendo exclusive on the Sega Dreamcast, and really that automatically makes the game better, just because playing anything on a Sega
Absolutely.
console makes it better. Yeah, they do have some graphical glitches, but considering how like Doom and Wipeout turned out, I'm sure that Jan Martin is gonna get those ironed out, and it's gonna be awesome. I know he's got to get the sound working too, because it is still early days on the port. I personally hope he just keeps the Sega R soundtrack in
Me
there that he
too.
keeps demoing the game with, because
Me
it
too.
just it's perfect. But yeah, it
Yeah.
does run really well, even though there's some graphical glitches. I could see it. It runs really well, and I mean, I got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas when I was a teenager in 1997, and along with Star Fox, and so I played that game to death. I know it very well, so I can tell like it is running the way it should
Oh
be
God.
already. So yeah, that'll be cool to see how that continues. Do you have any more thoughts about it? Anything else to say, Dan?
Looks like he's frozen.
Oh, I think Dan's having some. Dan's able to sort it out. Hopefully, his battery didn't die. I know he was a little concerned about that. Um, Dan on the left has frozen. Analog will actually say, "Yep." Uh, Unfortunately, well, down to just one Dan. Sorry, guys. 50% less damage. Yeah, everybody go check out the Sega Guys YouTube channel and watch their video on Mario Kart 64. The first look it was short but sweet. Um, and if he does not come back, thank you to Dan for joining me at all for the show. I appreciate having somebody to bounce off of.
He's gone.
He's gone. Okay. Well, I'm glad he was able to join us for a little bit. Thankfully, he almost got us all the way to the end because we have just one more story to talk about on the site today, and this is one that I wrote about the Dragon Ball beat 'em up homebrew game. We got a progress update on it this week. It's being developed by Nai-san, who popped into the SHIRO Discord server to give us an update, which is very nice of him. And he also put up a YouTube video. I wish I could show you, but you can check out the website and look at my story, and I've got it embedded in there. Nai-san said he's been making solid progress since he last first revealed this to the world, that he was working on this a month ago. And in that month, he has since fixed the video player and added the classic Brazilian opening to the game. Nai-san is Brazilian, so of course that is something he cares about, is the Brazilian opening to the Dragon Ball anime. He said that'll be optional though, so I guess maybe he'll have two different versions of it or something. I don't know. He did update the HUD and the background graphics. He rebuilt the stage using tiles and added a new background layer to enhance depth. So there's a little more parallax scrolling involved with it. It does look pretty cool. And he implemented foreground transparency when the player gets too close to the screen. Part of that parallax is he has some bits of ground kind of like in the foreground, and before your players would kind of just sort of disappear behind them, and so now the game detects when you are behind this foreground stuff, and it will make them go kind of partially transparent, and so you can see yourself. So that's a really good quality of life feature he added. That shows that he's kind of thinking about the player experience as he's making this, which is good to see. He also improved enemy behavior. Now, when they take too much damage, they fall and become temporarily invulnerable. So you can't, I guess, just combo them into oblivion. It's a little more of a game with some challenge to it. You have to wait for him to get up and stop being invulnerable before you can keep hitting him. And he also refined the collision system to make it more accurate. So that's good to see too. He did say that there's still a lot to improve, especially performance on real Saturn hardware. And he plans to add language options for both the intro and the game itself. So I guess probably Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and English. Who knows, maybe other languages. But development is moving steadily forward, Nisan said. So that's cool. We're wishing Nisan well. And people are going to get to see this at a convention. He said he's going to be bringing it to a Brazilian convention called RetroCon 2025 next month. That's going to be in Sao Paulo, July 25th to 27th. So hopefully that that demo goes well for him. Maybe we'll be able to make even more progress by then. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know if anybody is excited about this, but I'm excited about all Saturn homebrew. I love to see it. We're keeps the Saturn alive and adds to the library, and people love them some Dragon Ball, so it'll be cool. Yeah, Dragon Ball looks awesome. Dan the Mega Driver said. I guess now he's in chat. Oh, sorry, my phone battery died. Okay, I guessed correctly. His phone battery did finally give out. Well, you know what, Dan? It gave us a good 35, 40 minutes, so I can't complain too much about it. I'm glad you were able to be on the show with me. And that's about it as far as what we've got for Saturn news this week. As far as what we have posted on the website, we are working on some stuff for next week. There was, some updates to the mobile versions, Android and iOS of Yabasan Shiro. That emulator now has leaderboards. So I did mostly write up a story. I think it's pretty close to being finished, and I'll probably post it on Monday. So you can look forward to that. We'll talk about that on the show next week, hopefully with the couch and Dave and Pat, and we'll be able to have kind of a better looking, better produced show. And I believe Double Dime is working on a story about another homebrew game that we've reported on before. VBT is porting Flashback to the Saturn and has been coming along really well. And Double Dime had a chance to interview him. So he's going to have a story about that coming soon. So we can look forward to that as well. In closing, though, I would like to thank all of our Patreon subscribers. Because Pat was able to send me that list that I can read off here. Thank you to our $10 and up Patreon subscribers. We read your name off at the end of every show. And so thank you to A Murder of Crows, Emerald Nova, Johannes Fetz, Paul Bort, Sega Steve, Cerulean, Chris Piper, Daniel Fredrickson, Derek Pasquarella, Evo42, Fat Drunk Friend Otaku, Gem Clash or Rank, Lion Wing Publishing, to Momphis, Mamdo Majua, Normal Guy, Nutrageous, Orlando Guy, Robert Ramsey, Rowan Dinkt, and Stone Man. Thank you. Also, the Sega Guys and Young Money Sweet. Thank you again very much, and thank you to everyone who gives their support to Shiro at any level. We appreciate all of you. I'm sorry I can't run a scroll with your names at the end of the show here. You'll also have to look for your name next week on the show. Hopefully we will not have any difficulties then. But nonetheless, thank you to everyone who has given your support, and thank you to everybody who watched this janky stream. I really appreciate you tuning in and listening to me and Dan Driver chat about Saturn. So until next week, we'll see you then, and you must play Sega Saturn.